What's up guys? I just wanted to make a quick intro explaining a little more in detail about this whole process of me making my own wedding dress. I had this super ambitious idea that I was going to make this beautiful dress that I envisioned, that I wanted to be a little unconventional. I wanted it to be very me and very my style. Now, my sewing skills do not quite meet that expectation. So it was a real challenge for me, and at some parts a real struggle to try to piece together the ideas that I had. So I made a pretty simple design for the skirt and the bodice, and I actually kept the bodice and the skirt as two separate pieces because I don't have a lot going on up here to keep up a strapless sweetheart neckline. I think making the dress overall took me about 2 months, I want to say. I did not work on the dress every day, just sort of piece by piece, and adjusted certain things until I found a product that I really liked. If any of you beginner sewers or even advanced sewers are hesitant about taking that plunge into making something super special for an occasion, I say go for it. If you mess up, recycle the fabric and you will learn from the whole experience. So either way, it's a win-win, and it's super fun if you really love sewing. So without further ado, watch me make my wedding dress. And I just got back from Joann's with my new fabrics. I got a pink tulle, an embroidered mesh fabric, green tulle, a lace, and my lining fabric. Let's see what I can do. This is a picture of the pattern I created for a bodice with princess seams. I cut out each piece of the pattern using the lining fabric that I showed earlier. I want this bodice to have a low cut V in the back, so I cut out each piece at an angle corresponding to the look that I want. Once I sew the pieces together, I lay out the bodice and use a curved roller to cut the sweetheart shape at the top of the neckline. Next, I'm just taking my roller to make sure that the angles and the seams on the side and back of the dress all line up. Here is a picture of the bodice all sewn together. Next, I try on the bodice and take in each seam for a better fit. Taking in each seam will also create little tubes or channels for the boning to go into later for more stability in the bodice. Furthermore, I lay out the bodice and cut around the shape of it with a thicker, sturdier fabric as well as a lace layer. I'm only cutting out this shape because I want my middle layer, which was the lining fabric, to have the seams. The other two layers I don't want seams on. Once I have my layers sewn together, I take out zip ties and insert them into the channels that I just sewed. I know zip ties is kind of a cheap option, but it definitely works. Following this, I try on the bodice, and I include this clip in the video for narcissistic reasons. Okay, moving on. I pin down an invisible zipper and line it up with the V closure in the back so I get the back to a point. And you guessed it, I sew it in and trim off the excess fabric inside. Now, I wave all of my skirt fabrics in front of the camera, starting with the lining, the tulle, lace, and also, if you can't tell, I googled transition phrases so I wouldn't keep saying next. Subsequently, I draped the layers of fabric in a way that I liked on my dress form. Fun fact, I bought this dress form at a local antique shop, and the old man who sold it to me said that her name was Mona, and she had a twin named Lisa. He also told me that Lisa was the quote-unquote slutty twin. Needless to say, I thoroughly disinfected Mona before I used her. After finding a skirt shape that I like, I lay down the lining and tulle layers to pin them together and sew them along in the middle for 30 inches, which is my waist measurement and some room for error. Moreover, I re-drape the lace layer and pin it to the first 2 layers. I'm sewing these layer by layer for more control over the placement of the fabrics because tulle can be a very hard fabric to work with. After sewing all 4 layers, I shape the top layer, which is the embroidered fabric, and lay all of the other fabrics out flat on the floor to trim away and shape the other layers. To shape the layers even more, I fold all of the fabrics in half and trim away the excess on each side. Once more, I try the sewed layers of the skirt on Mona and then on myself to get an idea of the final product. Afterward, I move on to making the waistband. For the waistband of the skirt, I cut out pieces from the same materials as the bodice, so there are 3 layers, which makes the waistband more sturdy. Additionally, I pin the waistband all along the top of the skirt and, surprise, I sew it down. Sewing through so many layers can be really difficult, so I advise to go slow and put your face as close as humanly possible to your machine. With the waistband attached, Mona gets dressed for a formal strip club, and I trim away some more fabric to make the outer layer shine. Unlike Mona, I try the skirt on with the top and turn it around so I can mark where my zipper will need to go on each layer of the dress. Additionally, I cut a slit down the middle of the markings and I pin down another invisible zipper into the skirt. When sewing in the zipper, I switch to a zipper foot on my machine and I sew as close as I can to the teeth of the zipper. Sewing close to the teeth is what helps the zipper not be seen from the outside. Lastly, I haphazardly make a separate bottom layer out of the lining fabric and some tulle. This helped add some shape around my thighs to keep a little bit of poof all the way down and help the overall shape of the skirt. This technique is the embodiment of fake it till you make it.
And here's the final look.